All right, let's get into it. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to shatter a perfect universe. We're diving deep into a work called vector cosmology, which claims to have uncovered the secret engine behind all growth, all evolution. So, what actually happens when you break a perfect circle? Well, let's find out.
And yeah, the author isn't kidding around. This one line is basically a promise, right? It tells us we're about to break the very foundation of a stable, predictable cosmos. So forget all that elegant, perfect geometry. We're here to make some waves.
So, first up, the prison of perfection. Before we can break out, we gotta understand why a perfect universe is actually, well, a pretty terrifying place to be.
Now, this is where things get really interesting and honestly kind of creepy. What this slide is getting at is a concept from physics called Poincare recurrence. The idea is that in any closed, finite system, everything is mathematically doomed to just repeat. Every single action, every thought, every civilization, it's all just stuck on an infinite loop. There's no real growth because you've already seen it all before.
Okay, so that's the prison. Now, for section 2, the escape spiral. This is where we find the crack in the wall, the way out.
So, the whole thing boils down to this epic conflict between two fundamental numbers. You've got pi, the circle. Its whole deal is to close the loop, to conserve things, to repeat. You could think of it as the universe's memory. But then you have phi, the golden ratio. It's the engine of the spiral. It hates repeating. Its entire purpose is to grow, to explore, to compute brand new possibilities.
And this quote from Lewis Carroll, it just perfectly captures the new rule of the game in this spiral universe. See, if everything is constantly expanding, the very fabric of reality is getting watered down. So just to keep existing, just to not fade away into the background noise, you have to evolve and grow exponentially. Standing still is literally the worst thing you can do. So, how do you actually fight back against being diluted into nothing? Well, section 3 is life's rebel algorithm. The argument here is that life itself is the universe's first great rebellion, a super clever algorithm for fighting back against all that disorder. So how does life pull this off? It's not about breaking the laws of physics, it's about gaming them. It's a really smart 3-step process. First, life sucks in high-quality, low-entropy energy, like sunlight. Then, it uses that energy to build complex, orderly structures inside itself. And finally, it takes all the leftover mess, the heat, the waste, the disorder, and just spits it out. It creates these tiny little islands of order in a vast ocean of chaos. Pretty clever, right? And this idea leads to a complete reimagining of what evolution is all about. It's not just about being the strongest or the fastest. Ultimately, survival is all about information processing. The organisms that win are the ones that can compute the world around them most efficiently, the ones that can predict what's coming next so they can avoid making a fatal mistake. Okay, so what's the end game of this cosmic evolutionary race for computing power? Well, it goes way beyond just predicting where your next meal is. The ultimate goal, the final boss level, is to build a perfect mirror of the entire external universe inside your own head, to create a complete, living hologram of reality itself. And that brings us to section 4, consciousness, the co-creator. Because this relentless race for more and more computing power, it leads to one final, incredible destination, a universe that can finally look back at itself. But this, of course, raises a huge question. Is this mirror we've built, this consciousness, is it just a passive audience member? Are we just watching the show? Or does the act of watching actually change what's on stage? And the answer the source gives is just mind-blowing. It pulls from quantum mechanics to say that consciousness doesn't just read reality, it writes it. Every single time we observe something, every time we measure it, we are collapsing a wave of infinite possibilities into one single concrete fact. With every glance, we're turning the fog of what could be into the stone of what was. So let's recap. We escaped the prison of perfection. We became co-creators of reality itself. But the story isn't over. It has one last absolutely mind-bending twist. Welcome to Section 5, The Great Circle's Return. Because just when we start to believe we're on this infinite path of growth and freedom, the source pulls the rug out from under us. It suggests that our entire journey of escape might have been part of a much, much bigger illusion all along. And this is where a real piece of mathematics comes into play. It's called Naimark's dilation theorem. And what it says, basically, is that any system that looks open and growing from our perspective, like our beautiful spiral, can be mathematically proven to be just a shadow. It's nothing more than a projection of a much larger, perfectly closed and conserved system, a great circle, that exists in a higher dimension we can't even see.
So, here's the final thought I want to leave you with. What if our desperate race for growth, our rebellion against repetition, our entire journey up the spiral, what if all of it was itself a perfect, beautiful, and eternally repeating pattern all along? Just playing out on a scale so vast we can't even begin to comprehend it. Something to think about.